Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night. It's 9:30. It's time to go behind the hedges. I'm Mitch, and while we're here, while I have your attention, go ahead and click that like button down below and subscribe to this channel. We really appreciate you, and leave us a comment too, and we'll try to read it while we're on the air. Tonight we're talking Florida Gators, and we'll be joined by one of our Field of Stream's own dear Gators, and we're going to meet him right after this.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push my mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work, I got vision, I don't need to see. I'm thinking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
Man, it always gets me in the mood. All right. Hey, welcome Ethan, and also welcome Robert. Hi to you.
Hello,
too,
hello.
So, man, how are things with you?
Oh man, we dodged the hurricanes this year just to fight some wildfires here recently. That was
Yeah,
fun.
I wanted to ask you about that earlier when we were talking in the green room.
Yeah.
How are Jesus, hurricanes and forest fires and
Hurricanes and wildfires and tornadoes. Oh my.
dang Florida, you scary.
Yes, sir. Let's say nothing of the alligators and mosquitoes.
And meth addicts, right?
Yeah. So, how can I forget Florida man?
So how did you guys have any damage at all from the fires, or?
We were relatively close to the first one that kicked off, so we had to evacuate. Thankfully, for us at least, unfortunately for a couple of families, they did lose their homes. In true Florida man fashion, it started because somebody was burning trash in their backyard. And, next thing you know, there's only about 3 million tons of pine trees that are sitting out in the Florida forest in the Panhandle from Hurricane Michael. And a little Cheeto bag or something flew over into the brush. And next thing you know, we're being evacuated.
That's not funny. I'm certainly not laughing, but I
know you.
The likelihood of it being an actual Cheeto bag is just really
flaming
significant.
Yeah.
Flaming hot Cheeto. Enough of that. We're here to talk about the Florida Gators. All right. First things first, Ethan. Florida 2022 is going to look a lot different from Florida 2021. You hope. So I want you to talk to me about that. Tell me everything you know, or tell me everything you want me to know.
So obviously Dan Mullen was let go at the end of last year. I'll go on record and say this. I think Dan Mullen is a great offensive mind, and I think Dan Mullen could have been very successful at Florida. I think he got complacent and fat and happy and was a bit of a clown, as some people may have alluded to. And ultimately, I think his decision to keep Todd Grantham around for another year, it's a microcosm of the problems that belied our program. A lot of people were pretty unhappy about the fact that he brought over essentially his entire Mississippi State coaching staff. Right. There were some positives of that. Billy Gonzalez, I think, is a decent wide receiver coach. Unfortunately, Todd Grantham ran his course, as he has done everywhere else that he's ever been. And in 2020, probably cost us a chance at the CFP. He's Muschamp, but with offense. Yes, he can run his side of the ball well, but he cannot run a program. We were all pretty excited to just kind of move past that, because it seemed like he checked out. And for any profession, especially a multi-million-dollar profession, that's about the worst sin you could have. There's Dan Mullen's unemployed for a reason, and it's because he enjoys vacation time instead of recruiting season.
Right. Yeah. Or I saw something on Twitter about was it on Twitter? I can't remember if it was on Twitter or Discord or somewhere. There was where dogs congregate. Somebody had made the comment that he ran into Dan and Megan Mullen at the airport or something. Like he was at the same airport, and he's barking and national championship ended up with, within earshot. And basically she turned to him and said, please, not right now. We're really just trying to have a vacation. And he's like, I mean, what do you even say? The guy's like, he's not even fighting back. Just roll.
Yeah,
over.
I mean, when when your fan base is known for barking at strangers, sometimes you happen to get scolded by a wife, I imagine.
Oh yeah, I've been scolded by somebody's wife a couple times. I assure you.
So moving on from Dan Mullen, we have Billy Napier. We're all pretty happy about that hire. Obviously, he brought over a few of his coaching staffs or members from Louisiana Lafayette. Darnell Stapleton was their offensive line coach. Rob Sell technically didn't come with him. He was the New York Giants offensive line coach, but before that, he had been the O-line coach at Louisiana.
There was a connection to Napier.
Yeah, and they had coached at Arizona State, and they had some deep connections. So, I'll just run through the coaching staff real quick. This is, to me, and it's been, pretty heavily reported on. I think Napier is assembled one of the best staffs in the country. Whether or not he can, relay that into success, whether or not he, as the QB coach, offensive coordinator, head coach, can handle all those different hats remains to be seen. That's kind of where we are as a fan base. But the big one is kind of undeniable. Corey Raymond. Everybody thought that Corey Raymond was essentially that clown picture from The Office when Jim buys the house from his parents. It's just built into the foundation of LSU.
Right.
So him leaving and coming to Florida, that I still, as dumb as this may sound, but you guys probably can relate. I remember the night that he was hired. It was about 2 days after we had basically our entire recruiting class decommit, and dark days for your Gator brethren. And I was just looking at my phone, and it said Corey Raymond hired as Florida quarterbacks coach, and it was like 9:30 at night.
You're like,
I'm like,
sure it's that Corey Raymond?
That Corey Raymond, So at that point, the fan base kind of breathed a collective sigh because he brought with him Jabbar Jalouk, who was the LSU running backs coach for a season or two. He's kind of been around the SEC a little bit, but he was his running backs coach at Louisiana. Darnell Stapleton. The big one that maybe he's kind of flown under the radar was Patrick Tolney, who is considered to be a bit of a rising star for defensive coordinator. He has interesting connection to Dan Lanning and Glenn Schumann. They all coached together at Southwest Louisiana, and that's where they all kind of cut their teeth. So we're obviously hoping that we can kind of capture that magic that you guys got with Lanning and Schumann.
If he turns out to be like Lanning, you got yourself something.
From a lot of the things I've seen, and this is maybe a bit of hopium. There's a train of thought that thinks that within 2 or 3 years he might be a head coach somewhere. So we're hoping we kind of caught that magic in a bottle. Who else did he bring over? So I think that was it from his Louisiana staff. So then we hired Kerry Colbert from USC as our wide receivers coach. William Piegler came from Michigan State. He was their running backs coach for Kenneth Walker. Now he's our tight ends coach. So that was interesting.
Mikey and I knew a Piegler from Clinch County.
It very well may be some kin there. Funny story about Piegler while we're on that topic. I don't know how true this is. It was on a Discord where Gators congregate. Supposedly when Napier was at Clemson, there was a recruit coming that really enjoyed fishing. And I think I may have shared this in the group chat, but he couldn't take the recruits off campus. So he had 2 GAs cut down a tree and bury the tree in a pond on Clemson's campus so that when the recruit got there, they could go fishing, and he told them exactly where it would be, so the fish would obviously congregate around the tree. And so the assistant, one of them was William Piegler. I don't know how true that story is, but it's an interesting little anecdote if it is true. Then we hired Sean Spencer. He was also with the New York Giants. The Giants were kind of a dumpster fire, but you bring in a couple of NFL coaches, it's always going to be pretty exciting. And then we brought Mike Peterson back. He was South Carolina's linebackers coach. He's our linebackers coach now. He's a Gator great. So everybody loves to see that when your hometown guys come back home. And then Jay Bateman was North Carolina's defensive coordinator, and now he's our other linebackers coach.
So I need to say this about the was that the end of your coaching list? I didn't mean to cut.
Oh no, you're fine. As far as okay. Unless I've missed somebody, I'm pretty sure that's it.
All right, I wanted to say something about the New York Giants before it got down the street. The New York Giants are the number one employer of Georgia Bulldogs in the NFL. And they were also, up until this past year, the number one employer of Derek Dooley in the NFL. And now
it all makes sense now.
Mr. Dooley is going to be employed by the Crimson Tide.
So the Nick Saban school for coaches who can't coach good and want to do other things good too.
Right. And who else is joining the staff there? Who else did I see? Was it? Oh, it's Grantham.
He's going to be an analyst.
An analyst for Mr. Saban.
Yep.
So
just real quick though, one thing that has definitely changed compared to the last staff is Napier seemingly learned from Saban and Dabo that you need more than just on-field staff, and he's probably doubled the amount of off-field staff that we had. One thing that people really kind of honed in on was that in his contract with Florida, he specifically had a clause in his contract where the university provides them with like $7.5 million of funding for off-field staff.
Yeah.
And that was something that Mullen never paid attention to, cared about. There's stories about his recruiting director basically texting from his phone, and Kirby Smart heard about it and told the recruits to, hey, if they do this, ask to FaceTime.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I heard this.
So we did manage to poach Georgia's recruiting director, Katie Turner, and so far early returns have been very, very good for her. We've really beefed up the off-field staff, which nowadays you have to have. The one thing I'm really excited for is we've been working on this athletic compound, if you will. It's one of the real big drawbacks to Florida has been, number one, where the athletes live. They basically live in a dorm on campus like other students do. They live in a dorm with other students. It's the Keys Complex is what it's called. One of my buddies actually, the Tay-Bang video, he recorded it, and the press, they got it from him because they lived in the same dorm as the athletes when all that stuff happened. So they're building, they have a new residential complex where it's just going to be the football players. And then they have a new athletic complex that's going to be state-of-the-art, have 3D holographic practice rooms and all this other exciting shenanigans that you need to appeal to 17-year-olds nowadays. A recording booth, the important stuff. So that's been in the works since McElwain was around. McElwain was the one who really pushed for that because Florida, I don't want to say we started it, but we were sort of in the early curve of the facilities arm race, and then it just stopped. We built a really nice complex in front of the stadium, and then everybody kind of copied that, but then we just stopped building. And Georgia was behind in facilities for a long time, and then they just blew past us. Bama always kind of led the way with that. But, when you're an 18-year-old kid and you're looking at a weight room that's underneath the stadium that was built, in the 30s, compared to what Georgia and Bama have, it's just not going to cut it. So these kinds of things, Napier's kind of walking into that situation that the groundwork was laid 2 coaches ago, and it should be finished this summer. So it's kind of perfect timing for him.
So it's like the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Yeah. Right. We're kind of pressing a hard reset button, and he's coming into a good situation where the groundwork was laid by his predecessors.
All right. Well, cool. Well, hey, man, thank you for the info. I'm going to end this segment and remind the people at home to do this. Hey, everybody. I'm Mitch. Welcome back to Behind the Hedges. Tonight we're talking Florida Gators football. But before we get to that, let's get to this.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push my mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work like I got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
You like the new tunes?
I do, man. Yeah, where'd you get that from?
Oh gosh, I talked about it on a couple of streams ago. We got dinged for a copyright strike on the old song, which was supposed to be royalty free, and maybe it is. But I was like, man, screw this. I don't have time to go fight these people. And so I just went to the YouTube music archive, and for whatever reason, the title of this one caught my eye. It was Manifest It, I think was the name of the song. And I just said, all right, click that, and it was a banger. So I was like, all right, let's use that one. And,
the logo could be better, but the music's good.
Yeah, you know what? Why don't you go on and make your own logo? All right. So here we go. We've said it before. Florida is going to look a lot different. Now, you guys are I want to say some stuff here. I was very critical of the Gators' recruiting efforts under Mullen, sort of at large, but particularly at the end of Mullen's time. When you say Mullen checked out, I wonder if he ever checked in. The guy just didn't get it, man. You know, and like as an enemy dog, whatever. You know, I'm looking at this thinking, man, this is the best possible scenario. I hope these guys, you know, chain his ankles to the stadium and never let him go. You know what I mean? Like we loved Dan Mullen because we knew that Dan Mullen would beat us once every, you know, so many years, but would never be able to beat us consistently, right? That he just was not that guy, you know? And so we're sad to see him go. Back to the recruiting thing, though, you guys had some Napier comes in. He's got some scrambling to do. He's got to sort of put a Band-Aid on this gunshot wound, so to speak. And talk a little bit about how he did that, and I guess to what degree he was successful.
Yeah.
Eyes?
So early on, when, you know, pretty much in his first week of being announced, he made the decision to stick around at Louisiana and coach in the Sun Belt Conference game. And that was a sort of a mixed decision. Some people felt like, hey, screw your old school, come here and hit the ground running. Personally, I felt like it's a bit of an integrity move. You know, I feel like if you're a coach and you're going in front of parents and coaches and mentors, and you're saying, I have your kid's best interest at heart, it'd probably be pretty easy for Kirby Smart to come behind you and say, yeah, but he bailed on his team in their biggest game of their careers. How can that be? So, you know, I feel like it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Maybe with an extra week, we could have held on to a couple other guys. By and large, I would say in terms of recruiting, misses or you know, well, I'll do the misses before the arrivals. Isaiah Bond, I think, is going to be an absolute stud.
Who's that again? Say that again.
Isaiah Bond.
Okay.
He's a wide receiver. Yep.
Yeah.
He was committed to us for a while. There's you know, kind of conflicting reports that he was already kind of on his way out before Mullen left. When he was fired, it was kind of an easy decision for him. I think that dude is going to be the next Jalen Waddle. He tore it up in all of the All-American games. He's looked great in film.
Buford just churns them out, dude. They're a factory.
So Nick Evers, that's an interesting story that I won't get into now, but maybe when we have more time. He was kind of the quarterback for our class. He kind of was the leader of the class. So the story is that Napier and his staff requested a workout video from the commits before they reoffered them. Apparently, some of them didn't like that. I don't know the validity of this. You know, this is all message board kind of backhand information here. As far as I'm concerned, if a 17, 18-year-old's having the chance to go play for a school and the coach says, yeah, send me a video of you doing some drills, and you don't want to do it,
that's
whatever. Yeah, you will cut that loss. But, you know, we held on to Chris McClellan, who was a top 100 4-star Under Armour All-American guy at defensive line. We held on to some other kind of lower ranked recruits, but the big guy that we managed to reel in was Kamari Wilson, 5-star safety from Fort Myers IMG Academy. And then we actually managed to get Shamar James back into the class. He seemed to be heading either the Georgia or Bama. And
we had claws in both those guys. We were really excited about hauling those guys in.
Yeah. So, supposedly Kamari had already had a commitment video to Georgia shot and was ready to go. So being able to reel both of those guys in pretty short notice definitely had a lot of the fan base buzzing about what was coming, because everybody points to the decommits, and when we plummeted down to the 70s, and it was just dark days. A lot of people, myself included, I think I think most of those commits would have stuck. Guys like Chandler Smith, guys like Jaden Gibson, they both had. Jarrett Gibbs, they all had serious knee injuries in high school, which was a recurring theme with Mullen. Going back to his recruiting, if you go back and look at his first class, so he had 3 top 10 classes in a row. By most school standards, that'd be acceptable. 3 top 12 or so, that'd be good. For Florida, you're not going to catch Georgia and Bama with top 10 classes. So going back to that 2018 class, the biggest signee we have was this guy named Chris Still. And before he ever even made it to fall camp, he transferred to USC because there was some issues with his roommate that he had already voiced he didn't want to be his roommate. Then this guy gets in trouble for some girl issues, and his family's like, dude, you told the coach you didn't want to be there. Now you're involved in this stuff. Just get out. So he left. He was the highest rated recruit in that class.
I remember when that happened.
We also had a number of guys. So that's 2 recruits right there. Our quarterback, Jalen Jones, who's actually at Jackson State now, or was. I'm not sure if he graduated. Chris Steele. 3 of our offensive linemen never made it to campus. One of them had visa issues from the Bahamas. All these things that on paper, the class, it looks respectable enough, but when you kind of dig your teeth into it, you realize that half the class doesn't even make it to campus, or a third of the class. Then the next year, kind of cleaned up a little bit on that. And it really wasn't until Gervin Dexter, the 3rd recruiting class. Gervin Dexter was our only 5-star signee. Yep. And he's a stud. I mean, he's going to be probably an all SEC player, but that's just, again, not just going to cut it. Yeah. Thankfully, Napier seems to live and breathe recruiting season. So
I messaged you earlier, Patrick. I was trying to get you on the show, buddy.
So that's the big thing, is recruiting season never ends, and it's from recruits, reporters, coach's own mouth. He seems to live and breathe that. So that's a big breath of fresh air for us. So coming back to our recruiting class this year, we need some skill players. We're hoping maybe the guys we have on campus, the biggest problem is Mullen tended to like big, tall, big body receivers, which is funny considering Kadarius Toney's the best one we had. But that's mostly that's mostly what he recruited. So we have a bunch of 6'4" receivers that run like 4.6, 5.40s.
Kind of the Clemson pattern.
Yeah.
Hey, I totally get it, brother. I totally get it, man.
It's no thing. Man.
I'm happy to hang out with my boy Ethan here. Just the 2 of us, right? No drama. Everybody's being real chill.
No bickering.
I ain't had to mute not one person's microphone tonight.
There's the transfers that we got this year. Louisiana fans. So I told you I go off on tangents, but I'll try to keep it short. Louisiana fans were really very happy to see Napier make this step up, and that had nothing to say but good things to say about him. Right up until we took half of their staff, and then probably the 4 best players.
There was a lot of salt. There was a high sodium content.
I guess they would rather see Osiris Torrance go to the NFL than follow his coach to the SEC. I don't know. I'm glad he made the decision he did. They also had a freshman running back, Montrell Johnson, who rushed for almost 1,000 yards as a true freshman for Louisiana. He transferred. A guy that's kind of under the radar, his name is Cameron Waits, and I say under the radar because he was not he would not. He was not a highly rated recruit. He was kind of one of those, Louisiana specials, if you will.
Yeah.
But he's 6'8", 345, and he seems to be the next right tackle for Florida, kind of a Trent Brown, which worked out pretty well for us. So I think that the 2022 class, everybody kind of was happy with what we got. We missed on Harold Perkins at the end. We had a really good feeling about him, and then he ended up going to LSU. And then Trevante Citizen was a guy who supposedly committed to Billy Napier the morning of signing day and wanted to be guaranteed a starting spot. Wasn't given that. And then I don't know if you've seen his commitment video, but puts on the Auburn hat, and then he puts on the Florida hat, and then he puts on the Miami hat, and then he puts on the LSU hat, and then he throws it away and puts on the Miami hat. At that point, these guys, I'm happy for them, and I hope they have healthy long.
I love recruitment videos.
Man,
I love it.
The drama, it gets old after a while.
Who was it? Quay Walker, a guy linebacker. This one of our guys who's going into the draft this year. If I remember correctly, it was him who put on the it was either an Auburn or a Tennessee hat. And then I'm going to be, and then he took and threw it like
yeah.
I
miss the days
that had never landed.
I miss the days when they had live animals as props. The little Holyfield's little bulldog puppy. I don't remember who the guy was that had a little baby gator.
Yeah, you're right, Patty. That was the most disrespectful hat throw I've ever seen.
I don't know, man. Travis Hunter's was pretty good too. maybe I'm biased there.
No, you're right, boy. That was. We could do an entirely different show. We could end this show and just start a fresh stream and just talk about Travis Hunter for the rest of the night. I would love it. In fact, Warren mentioned something about that when it comes time, when all this is settled and we're looking for something to talk about. He said something about how Deion Sanders changed the rules or changed the game or something like that. He wants to talk about that, and I'm here to give him a platform.
I love recruiting. I follow it daily. I mean, we've been on commit watch from a guy who he's kind of publicly stated he wants to play for Corey Raymond. His name is AJ Harris, and he was visiting this weekend, and Napier tweeted out a sunglass emoji, which is supposed to be his little bat signal for a commit. All the reporters put in predictions for it, and apparently that pissed him off. And I don't know. It's all just too much drama for me. I got to take a step back from it. It's March, and I'm already tired of it. But recruiting season, man, I'm out of shape. It's. So real quick. So before we go on to the next segment, departures. Jacob Copeland is going to Maryland. Gerald Mincy transferred to Tennessee. Who else? I can't. Emory Jones is transferring.
Hold on a second now. Are you sure about that? 24/7 transfer portal. I mean, we got to keep people in line. We can't allow irresponsible, reporting and whatnot.
What are we talking about? Emory Jones?
I need to see it. I want to see it on.
Yeah, no, he actually just put his name in this week, or maybe last week.
Emory Jones, 319. Yep. So actually 3 days ago, immediate eligibility. 95.87. Tyron Hopper is also.
Tyron Hopper, Chris Vogel.
Tyron Hopper is going to Missouri to play on a team where there's already a Tyrone Hopper,
who is his brother.
Did not know that part.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And supposedly, message board rumors, part of the reason he transferred was because his brother previously played for North Carolina whose defensive coordinator, as mentioned earlier, was Jay Bateman, who is the new linebackers coach at Florida. So people are kind of on. I think out of our staff, Kerry Colbert and Jay Bateman are the two that people kind of aren't fully bought into yet. I think Kerry Colbert, he got Brew McCoy to come to USC from Texas. Drake London is going to be a top 10, top 20 NFL draft pick. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been balling out. So, he has a decent track record, but I think recruiting is kind of where people still have some question marks. And Chris Bogle went to Michigan State, and Mamu Diabate transferred to Utah. And,
oh, yes, that's right. That's right. They will like him.
Yes,
I think he'll do well for them.
In terms of transfers, the only one to me that really kind of stings is Hopper. Grantham's defense, their recruiting philosophy, if you can even call it that, they recruit a lot of tweeners, a lot of buck linebackers that are edge rusher / linebackers, so they don't really have. So Mamu Diabate was like 6'1", like 210, playing middle linebacker in the SEC. And if you get a chance, look at that LSU game where they ran guard tackle traps on us all game and just trucked him into the ground. Yeah.
So it's tricky because like those kinds of guys always have like really good numbers.
Yeah.
Right? They make a lot of tackles, but they're making tackles 12 yards down.
Yeah, exactly. So, part of that was Ventrell Miller, who was all SEC, preseason all SEC, tore his bicep in the second game of the year. And he was without a doubt the defensive leader, the clear linebacker. He was the guy that really was holding our defense together. When he went down, nobody really stepped up for him, but he came back for his 6th year. So he's going to be hopefully our middle linebacker. And we have some guys that are interesting that I think will be better fits. Man, these guys love Mullen. I swear, rent free, man. That's all I can say. But yeah, the only one that really stings to me is Hopper. I think he would have been our starting middle linebacker next to Ventrell Miller. Other than that, Bogle, we have a ton of defensive ends. Diabate, he kind of was a tweener, so it's kind of a meh. Mincy wasn't even a starter on our offensive line, so if he got maybe he balls out for Tennessee. I don't know, but he wasn't really a good recruit. Never really got on the field, so he's kind of a whatever to me. Really, the only one that matters is Anthony Richardson in my book. As long as he's wearing orange and blue, we have hope. If he transferred, and that's the thing that
What if he goes to Auburn?
Yeah, well, that's the thing I told everybody during the offseason is like, honestly, we could lose anybody else on our team, but we can't lose a guy who shows so much potential from Gainesville, appears to be possibly, the next great Florida quarterback based off of potential, not off of production. So he has high expectations. He's a local kid. So if he would have left, he's the face of the program right now. Gervin Dexter's our best player. Anthony Richardson isn't our best player, but he may be. But he is without a doubt the guy that's going to put asses in the seats.
Gotcha. Hey, I want to take us out now, and but when we come back, we're going to talk about expectations, and I'm really excited about this one.
Let's do it.
So stick around. Everybody, welcome back to Behind the Hedges. Tonight, we are talking Florida Gators 2020. I can't even say it. 2022 season. Jesus, help me, man. I need some coffee or a nap. Let's get to it.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push my mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work, I got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
So this has very quickly become my favorite segment on the show, Ethan, and that is the expectations and approval rating. So let me say something about this. I've mentioned it a couple times already, so people at home are going to be tired of me saying this. But you watch Josh Pate? This is my weekly Josh Pate plug. If you're not watching Josh Pate, go do so. All right, the guy's gold. All right, There you go, Josh. Now send us the cash, right? Wait, hold on. Here we go. You can, just send it right there. So anyway, Josh did this show where he's talking about approval ratings for coaches amongst their constituent fan bases. And he said, if you look into the SEC is sort of in a weird situation right now where basically everybody is happy with their coach. With the possible asterisk of Auburn, they're in a sort of like their own little category.
As always,
right? There are some people there who are happy with Harsin, maybe not for his results or his coaching ability, but for being a stick in the mud or a thorn in the side for the boosters or what have you. I don't know. That's Tidwell's got a lot of feelings. All right, and I am, like I said earlier, I'm here to give him that platform. So everybody seems to be really, really thrilled with their coaches. There's a lot of new coaches, including Napier. A lot of guys like Smart, Saban have had success. Whatever. Pittman just cannot be touched at all. You would the earth would open and you would descend into the bowels of hell for speaking ill of Pittman in the state of Arkansas. These guys. Thanks for being here, guys.
It's Harsin New Mullen.
Well, I guess so. It's like the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh, right? So you lose Mullen, you're like, oh, dang it, and then Brian Harsin is.
You can't have
hey
both.
Guys,
you can't have both orange and blue rivals down forever, right?
Right, exactly, and you also just can't. They can't both be targets at the same time, I guess, right? But until Florida falls off the map again, we always got Brian Harsin.
Yeah, there we go.
So, anywho, I want to know how you, as a Florida fan, educated Florida fan, what is your approval rating for Billy Napier? I mean, like on a 1 to 10 sort of thing. 10 being obviously like, this is our guy.
So let's be real here. 10, I feel like you can only have like Smart, Saban, Dabo in that conversation, right? Based off of that, with those guys being a 10, I'd say maybe 8.
Okay, fair. All right.
I think that Napier's ceiling is potentially that high. His floor could be, another 5 years of lost Florida football. I don't know. I don't think his floor is that low. I think that he's not a proven commodity, but that's kind of the name of the game. Very few teams get proven commodities. Texas A&M, USC. Kirby wasn't a proven commodity, but he had the playbook. I think Billy has that same playbook, and maybe he doesn't execute it as well as Kirby. It'll remain to be seen. But they learn from the same people, and we've tried that with McElwain, and we tried following Meyer's disciple with Mullen. It just hasn't worked out. The level of detail, the energy that he seems to exude, that his staff seems to exude, that the people in the program now, it's not just the head coach. Like before, we had old ass Tim Brewster tweeting out palm trees and weird shit to recruits, and Tim Brewster was one of our best recruiters on staff. Like Tim Brewster, like really, like what I'm saying. So yeah, we know.
I know, but I wanted to bring this up, right? I wanted to. It's obvious. I'm not even going to ask you. Do you think that Florida is a stock up or stock down team, right? But I think it's worth saying that I don't think Florida's results. Can you see my mouse there? Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. I don't think Florida's results. Yeah. 2-6 in the conference. Like now, most of this is back end. Like there just came a point last season where it just was over, and Florida they sunk into the swamp. Right, it was just done. And when you're celebrating at halftime in the Samford game, after letting them hang half 100 on you, it's like this is not the look, guys. You know what I mean? And so Florida just sort of just disappeared. And man, the Missouri game, I mean, South Carolina, all of that though, you guys still beat Tennessee. Played them first, right? Still beat Tennessee, and poor old Vandy. So everybody north of I-20, but south of I-40, I guess. Tennessee people think that they are definitely a stock up program, and they are aiming at top 2 in the East, right? They're chasing Georgia. They really think that's where they are, and maybe they are. I'm not saying that. I think Kentucky's quite a good team here.
I think that there's the possibility that Florida, I think low end 6-6 this year, 8-4 maybe. And that's a big difference, in terms of who we play. We start with Utah. We have our SEC schedule. We finish with Florida State. If you look at, to me, I think the 2020 SEC championship game broke Dan Mullen. Maybe the LSU game did. I don't know. If you look at, we were right there with Bama in the SEC title game. Absolutely folded in against Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. And even admitted to it almost gleefully. Which at the time, and honestly, I don't care that much about bowl games anymore. I just don't. I mean, they're kind of meaningless games. The best players sit out. If it's not the CFP or, bowl games used to be a time for younger players to get playing time. I mean, that was always the thing. Now guys just straight up sit out. Whatever. Yeah. But you can't say you folded in. And then you look at the first 2 games of last year, FAU and USF. I mean, really, if it wasn't for Anthony Richardson just going insane-o on QB sweeps, those
you
games
guys put up a heck of a lot of rushing yards, and people were like, "Whoa, Florida has an identity. Look at this!" And there was some buzz around it.
Yeah, and then we played Bama, 3rd game of the year, and nearly knocked them off. I mean that.
Right.
You look at the outcome of those games, and I can't pinpoint the moment. I don't know if it was losing to Kentucky again. I don't know if it was the LSU
think I know the
game.
moment.
Which one?
I think it happened about 2 minutes before halftime in the Georgia game.
See, but that's the other time that I would pinpoint to, because it was 3-0 up to that point.
Huh?
We weren't folding it in, and y'all damn sure were not, letting us take anything. We weren't.
It was a football game.
Yeah. And honestly, that whole final 2.5 minute debacle, man, that was some unlucky ass football. But that it's weird how undisciplined, immature, unprepared teams tend to be the unluckiest, right? Like that's kind of how things go.
It's funny to hear it from that perspective, because hearing it from my perspective was, Georgia's finally doing that thing that Georgia does, right? Because it was a game, and then suddenly we started to look like in those last 2 minutes the way that we had already looked, where suddenly this defense just, you know what I mean? They tear the G open and there's an S.
And y'all did the same thing to Bama in the national championship game, where it was a dogfight, and it looked like Bama was about to put the nail in the coffin, and then suddenly the defense said, "No, not this defense."
Yeah.
So I got to give the Georgia defense credit. You just don't see 3 touchdowns scored in 2 minutes without there being at least a smidgen of bad luck. And the fumble at the 10-yard line was.
In fact, I wish I could. I wish I could pull up the receipts from mine and Ducati's text exchange at the time. You would get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
There was a point where it was after the first turnover, and I was like, "Oh snap, we got a break, right? We're gonna get one here, right?" And then it was Nolan Smith was the one that recovered it, stripped the ball, right?
Yeah.
And then when he intercepted that pass, he dropped back and covered, and then picked one off. He was the next turnover too. And I said, "Oh shoot!" And I said, "Matt, I said, listen to what I'm telling you right now. If Florida doesn't settle down right here, and they continue to press and try to make something happen, this will get out of hand. This will spiral on them badly." And then when Georgia scored again, and here comes you got to throw a ball, and the Kobe Dean goes up and get it, and I'm like,
yeah,
bro, I just told you.
And honestly, okay, so I kind of pinpoint the moment that Florida football lost its mojo to the soul-sucking Nick Saban as the 2009 SEC title game, where Greg McElroy tiptoes down the sideline for like a 15-yard first down run. And you could tell it just deflated everybody. And since that moment, we've had flashes, but we've never been back to where the expectations really are for our program. But to go back to the SEC title game in 2020, there was a play, I think it was near halftime, maybe right before, I don't remember. But we intercepted Bama. It was 28-28 at the time, I believe, and maybe 21-28. We intercepted Bama in the end zone. Trey Dean returns the ball, gets out to about the 30-yard line, and Devontae Smith punches it back out. Bama recovers it. Next play, scores a touchdown.
Right.
That moment, it just swung the momentum just all the way back around. And then Mullen tried to do his Bill Belichick, get the ball back right before halftime and score, and it failed. But then Bama got the ball back with like a minute left to put another touchdown up. Mm-hmm. Then you go fast forward to the end of the game, we lose by 6.
I remember that exchange, man.
Yeah, that was Mullen's flash in the pan, and it failed. So that's all behind us now, and now we are on to a new era.
That's all behind us now.
It's totally normal to remember these things in vivid detail, right? That's definitely not a sign of caring too much. Right?
It's healthy. It's healthy.
Yeah,
it's definitely not mental illness or
so,
anything like that.
I think that the big thing that people have talked about with Napier is he's very detailed, he's very organized, he's very structured, which is a drastic change from Mullen, who was always kind of aloof and just, weird in a lot of ways. And so that's going to be a nice change of pace. As far as expectations go, I mean, come on. Even in our worst years, Tennessee has beat us once. We have a whole.
So I wanted to circle back around to that. I wanted to say that. I said rather than Tennessee's expectations being let's chase Georgia, their expectations need to be let's beat Florida, right? Their goal, like circle that game. You gotta walk before, crawl before you can walk. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not, but that's just what the pecking order is right now. You're looking at a team, Florida, that went 2-6 in conference, and one of those games was against you. You know what I mean? And you're talking about we're going to check. Iamaliava. That's how you say it.
Hey, man, I think that Heupel has a good offense.
I agree. I completely agree.
I think that the drawback, and it's the thing that people have said about the spread offense in the SEC, sometimes the other team has studs on defense. And if you want to try and run 85 plays, you better score 50 points or else your defense is going to pay for it. And that's kind of what happened to them in a lot of ways. I do think Hendon Hooker, but this is not a Tennessee show, man. That's the wrong shade of orange.
It's definitely not, but I'm trying to circle that back and say, hey, Florida guy, maybe your goal should also be, let's get bowl eligible and all that. But let's maintain a little bit of decorum here and keep Rocky Top under the swamp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's the expectations at Florida will never be SEC East champions. I mean, obviously that's a good start, but it's just, and it's the same at Georgia. It's the same at Bama. It's the same at LSU. It's the same at schools that have actually won stuff. Like it's not division championships. It's SEC and national titles.
Sure.
We are, like I said, we hit a hard reset button. I don't think 2022 is going to be.
Fair, Robert.
Hey, man, Mikey's going to fight you over that one.
There might not be a right shade, but there certainly are a lot of shades. God, there's a lot of it.
But I think that unlike when Mullen took over, and really when McElwain took over, we were just so starved. Going from Urban Meyer scoring 50 points and Tim Tebow and all this stuff to Muschamp, who couldn't score, he couldn't score his way out of a paper bag, to McElwain, who was supposed to be this, offensive guy, and he had just had a Blitnikoff Award winner and a second round QB pick, and said that he could score points with his dog at quarterback. And then the rest is history.
Right.
Funnily enough, we have to be the only school in recent memory that's fired back-to-back coaches the season after going to the SEC title game. I can't remember.
I would bet that's probably true.
It's just that there hasn't been enough teams that have played for it that would even fit into that. But Mullen, he scratched that itch for a lot of the fan base, and that he put up points, and a lot of the warts were ignored because we actually had a functional offense. I think that everybody, myself included, will be happy if we get back to closer to the median of 32 points a game and 17 points on defense. That the make or break style of Todd Grantham's defense, it just broke us. And we saw it and we saw it and we saw it. And then everybody after 2020 realized, like, dude, if we had a functional defense in half of those games, we would have been competing for SEC and national titles. We almost won.
Sure. Yeah.
But Bama scored 52 points on us. I mean, it's pretty tough to win a conference title when your opponent scores 52 points.
Sure.
So I think that's, Tony has a more modern style defense to where he actually doesn't give up first downs on 3rd and 19. So
I want to hear you. Give it a number. We're going to wrap it up with a number.
Okay.
We're going to say Ethan thinks that a reasonable expectation for the Florida Gators is a season that involves beating Florida State, beating Tennessee, and finishing with a record of how many wins?
Let me see. I'm looking at our schedule now. So we go Utah, Kentucky, South Florida, Tennessee. If we have more than one loss coming out of September, I think that people will, like I said, I think the expectation for this year is pretty low. I think that people are willing to give Napier a year to fix the mess. But looking at this schedule,
I guess I should have pulled up your schedule.
I'll say 8 wins is exceeding expectations. Looking at the schedule, it's hard to go less than that, honestly. I mean, the teams we play are not as talented as us. The big question mark is that a lot of us just don't know how Napier's offense is going to work, how Tony's defense is going to work. So there's question marks. But there's really no reason we shouldn't be able to beat the first 6 teams we play. Maybe that's a bold assumption. And maybe I'm underplaying Kentucky a little bit. I know I've been guilty of that because I spent my entire adult life beating Kentucky every year until Mullen came in. So I know they're a different breed. I
think Kentucky is a good football team, and I know that a lot of people have trouble thinking that, and so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my personal expectations at 8 wins. Anything, and so those 4 losses would be Georgia, Texas A&M. See, that's the problem, man. If you pull the schedule up, like, if you look at the teams we play and you look at the talent we have on our roster, and especially if Anthony Richardson becomes close to what his potential is, if he stays healthy, doesn't do backflips, doesn't dance in the hotel, and plays up to his potential. I mean, looking at this schedule, it's not a murderer's row schedule this year.
Oh, crud. What the heck is going on here? I don't know what just happened. I have done a thing. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Here we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so starting September 3rd with Utah, I am of the belief that Utah's pretty good. I think this is a losable game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's why I said coming out of September with one loss.
Yeah.
At that point, or with more than one loss, rather.
I think that Kentucky is at least as good as Utah.
I think 3 of those games are losable. I think that 3 of those, I think all 4 of those, especially with the first 3 being at home, it gives us a chance. Utah's got to fly across the country. Kentucky doesn't get their Commonwealth Stadium, Croker's magic. South Florida, that should be an easy dub. Floppy top, who knows?
This right here is a problem.
I don't think so.
This is a problem. I know you don't think so, but those people are mad, and they really want to.
They should
Florida.
be, man. They suck.
And they have mustard bottles. So,
I mean that. It takes more than mustard to defeat Florida, man.
So all I'm saying is that losable game, losable game, losable game. That's 3, 4, 5 losable games, 6 losable game. Losable game. South Carolina is a losable game.
I just don't think so, man. I feel like it's any game is losable. I mean, you guys lost to.
This is not.
Okay, fair. That's fair.
This was not.
Okay. Yes. The Division II teams on our schedule are not losable.
You were going to say we lost to South Carolina, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and yeah, you're right.
It happens. Any game is losable in the SEC. But I think that coming out, look, we play 6 out of our first 7 games at home. If we come away from that with fewer than 5 wins, so that's giving the benefit of the doubt to, if we come out of those 7 games at 3-4 or 4-3, people are going to be restless. But I think looking through those teams, if you look at the talent level, if you look at really, if you just ignore the previous year, which is maybe a fallacious argument, but if you ignore the year that basically was just a lost season because our coaches didn't give a shit, getting 6 out of 7 games in the Swamp, we still went 5-1 in the Swamp last year. It's a tough place to play. So all of those teams coming in there, it's kind of going to be our turn to give them hell. So I think that's going to be a huge benefit to us is the fact that we get to play them at home to start the new tenure, to start the new season. Utah's a tough matchup. I mean, we get Texas A&M for the second time in 3 years. That's fun. Yeah. So I mean, it's. We could go 3-9, or we could go 10-2. I honestly don't know, and I think that basing it off of talent, we out-talent everybody on this schedule except for Georgia and Texas A&M, maybe LSU. Basing it off of performance from the previous year, hell, man, we could go 2-10 if our players give as much of a shit as Mullen did. But
do you believe what you said though about the floor is 3 wins and the ceiling is 10? Is that really where you are?
I would say the floor is 6. I don't see a way. I don't think Florida State is going to beat us. Vandy can't beat us. Eastern Washington and USF, that's 4 wins right there. There's no way in hell we lose, and this might be something I get clipped on later. I don't know. There's no way in hell we lose the rest of our games this year.
Okay.
To go 3-9. So
right.
I'm sorry, man. I just don't buy the hype on Tennessee. I don't give a shit about Eli Drinkwitz, and I hope that every player that was on this team last year remembers Eli Drinkwitz's bullshit, just like Missouri remembered Dan Mullen.
They remember Darth Mullen.
I hope that they remember it and take it off at Missouri's ass. I hope that the swamp is, I think the swamp's going to be rocking, and that's why I think it's so important to come out of that first month with your new coach, with your, everybody's going to be fired up. It's going to be no more restrictions, and, everybody's happy, and football's back. And especially if we go into that Tennessee game 3-0, it's going to be a 38-10 whooping of Tennessee in floppy top.
I'm going to say it like this. This is how I will say it. I will say that I expect that Florida will be dogs in Vegas versus Utah, Kentucky, Tennessee, LSU, Georgia, Texas A&M. And I think South Carolina, because I think South Carolina is going to have a good early
all
part
of those
of the season.
games, but all of those games that are at home.
Right. Yes. All right. So I'm not. Hold on. I think that Florida on paper will be dogs against those 7 schools. I am going to say that Florida is going to lose 6 of those games.
No way.
Okay. I just want to I put my timestamp down, and I got yours about a minute before.
So you expect there to be no improvement from a checked out Mullen and an interim head coach.
No, that was my same as your 8-4 median, like your expectation level. That's not my floor and ceiling. That's my median level. I think Florida could lose 7 of those games, all 7. But I do think that Florida could win as many as I think 8. When you said 8-4, I was like, that sounds good. If I woke up tomorrow and it was the end of the season and I just opened the newspaper and found that Florida won 8 games, I'd be okay, yeah, that makes good sense. What the hell is?
Oh
this?
My God! Nice jersey, man.
I need you to stick around for just a minute. Oh, this is going to be one of those, like, now everybody got to tune in for next week. Man, hey guys, welcome back to Behind the Hedges. We're talking Florida football here, and do you all have a treat? Let's get to it.
I wake up every minute with the fever dreams. I push my mind to a limit where it needs to be. I work, I got vision I don't need to see. I'm picking mind over matter, I believe in me. I need to find more hours in the day to breathe. Need to find more power in the way I be.
Should I just... Am I done?
Bye. Can you hear me? For real?
Yeah. Hey, before this turns into something else,
it ain't.
That is a good jersey that you have.
What are you talking about?
Is this your flesh? Your flesh.
Are you okay?
He must have mowed the lawn or something and got sunburned.
Is there something? It was cool today in Pennsylvania. I did get a little unexpected sun. What y'all talking about?
Well, we were just getting ready to wrap it up and go to sleep. But here you are.
I have a question. Go ahead and do the rest of your stuff.
Oh, we're done. We're done. This is
man, we're an hour and 3 minutes in.
Here's my question for Florida man. Should we get rid of Jacksonville? Would that benefit our teams from a recruiting perspective? Yeah. How do you feel about that question?
Okay, I mean, Georgia signed 3 of the number 1 classes in the past 5 years, so it would benefit my team. I don't think you guys would really see much more of a benefit because you're already recruiting at arguably the highest level in the country, so it's kind of hard to provide further benefit from that. But in terms of a fan standpoint, yeah, I think the Jacksonville thing has run its course.
Kirby seems to think that we would benefit from a recruiting standpoint. Just why is it that
recruits to Florida?
Why is it that our recruits can't come to that game?
I don't know. I think it's stupid. I don't understand how a recruit can come to a bowl game on an unofficial visit, but they can't come to a neutral site game.
Right. I guess I didn't do my due diligence. I don't have the answer for that either. I think it. I'd like to see. I'd like to see that series go home and home. I'd like to see that become a.
Or,
we go down there.
maybe home and home in Jacksonville. Do a 2-for-1 or something. To where, I mean, the fact that it had one of the best rivalries in college football hasn't been played in our home stadium since what happened the last time we played?
It's the reason. It's the reason. It's the reason. It's the reason I hate Florida.
But hey, man, I agree with you. I would love to be able to come to Sanford Stadium.
It's actually what happened in our stadium, which is the reason that I hate Florida.
Yeah.
But hey, Steve Spurrier was never known for mercy.
Those were a long day.
Were you even born by that? Were you even alive?
I was barely sentient, but yes, I was born.
Okay. Yeah. That was my question. It came to my mind, and I was like, and then I got my phone.
I would love to have. I feel like our rivalry it's ebbed and flowed throughout the years. Right now, Georgia's up. Previously, Florida was up. Mitch and I lived 30, 45 minutes away from each other for most of our lives and didn't know it. I would love to be able to host a lot of my Georgia friends in the swamp and show them and have a good time. And I'd love to be able to come to Athens. The one time that maybe twice that I've been to Athens, it's a good place to be. I don't know about on game day to where I'm getting barked at constantly, but come down to Florida, get some fried gator tail, and have a good time.
Well, the thought did occur to me that like the name of our show is Behind the Hedges, right? And there are Florida people who like don't get it,
I associate Auburn with Hedges, honestly. So yeah.
And the whole thing. I've seen Florida Stadium on TV. Like I've never seen Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. The big orange wall. This is the swamp. I've never seen that with my eyes. Yeah. So it's weird.
I mean, is there any other? I mean, I know the Iron Bowl used to be played in Birmingham, but that was done away with when people started getting tetanus, right?
I can't think of another consistent neutral site game.
And nowadays people are starting to move to the home and home.
That's the thing though, because it has that unique factor and the tradition. I mean, but it is tradition. I shouldn't even do the air quotes. Is that enough? Is that enough of an argument to say?
I will never say that. I will never ever say about anything that tradition is enough. I can't think of a situation where that's the case. Now prove me wrong, and I'll admit it if you do. But I can't think of a situation where tradition is enough to just blindly continue doing that thing. I don't think it serves the function that it once served, and I think there's a greater function that could be served.
And nowadays, it's almost impossible to get tickets to it because you have fraternities and sororities from both schools, alumni. The list of people who get first dibs on the tickets is so long that by the time it reaches peons like us, you're paying a couple, at least $1,000 for anything to go there. Hotel prices are insane. It's not a college town. You don't get to enjoy the experience.
No, we went in. I think it was 10 or 11. And across the street, there was a bar. They sold me a can of Busch beer for $8.
Mm-hmm.
For $8?
$8.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, it's like they've turned it into Disney World for college football, and it's just. I don't really ever have any desire to go.
The stadium's split half and half, and like you said, most of those seats are spoken for, unless you want to get
And it's one of those things to where because the rivalry has been so up and down. At every point in time the game has been played in Jacksonville, one fan base has been pissed off because even though it's split down the middle, whatever team is doing better, it's 55-45 or 60-40. And then the other team says, oh, this is bullshit. How are there more here? And I do think it's cool to see that color clash as you come across the middle of the stadium and then it goes to the other one. That's cool. Who cares? I mean, let's be real. If you're going to go from Athens or the surrounding area to watch the Georgia-Florida game, the 45 minutes to an hour it would take you to go from Jacksonville to Gainesville. Do you really care? You've already driven 3-4 hours. I mean, and it's the same. Florida fans. Every time we play Vanderbilt, there's more Florida fans in the stadium than there are Vandy fans. You don't think that Georgia and Florida fans are going to travel? The stadiums would always be packed out
as much as they can. Yeah. I'm leaning towards, like, there's been a lot of talk about it, and I think they extended it through. Help me out, Mitch. What do they extend it to? 2020?
2025, I think.
Yeah.
I kind of want it to change.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see what y'all thought.
And then you have that other variable of, think about the 2012 game where Jordan Reed fumbled it. Everybody afterwards says, "Oh, if that was a home field, we would have won." And you guys have had the same instances of, that 3 points. Well, that's the home field advantage right there, And it's just one of those things that no other schools do it, and I think it's an interesting part of our history. But we've done it for years. We've got our money's worth out of that tradition.
I don't like Jacksonville.
Yeah, exactly. Vandy has no fans. You're right. Especially they
do have a new logo.
Yeah, new and improved.
That is important.
What was
I used to work with a Vandy fan, oddly enough.
Wait, you say that again?
What?
I used to work with a Vandy fan from Florida. Wasn't from Tennessee. Wasn't a Vandy alum. Proudly wore his Vandy hat to work every day.
Wow.
I worked for a divisional vice president who graduated from UF in the Spurrier era, who pulls for FSU against Miami. And I found out why, Mitch, because for whatever reason, he moved from Connecticut to South Florida, and Miami that time went, "Nah, you can't come here."
All right. This is the guy you had to do your evaluation.
Yeah, I went into an open door day with this VP, and I opened up. He was like, how are things going with you? And I was like, well, my dogs just ended a 41-year streak, and this man stopped being corporate VP for like 5 seconds, and he did this. He was, and he He's like, man, it was your time, and I was pulling for you. I really was, because I'm tired of Bama. But I'm like that. I pull for FSU against Miami because they wouldn't accept me, and then we went into corporate.
Yeah,
bullshit screen. And I got to think, I was like, what kind of Florida fan pulls for FSU in anything?
Yeah, I've always, up until probably the past 5. See, it's weird. Up until I started working with people who were Miami fans, I liked Miami. Our rivalry had ended by the time I really got into Florida football. Or not, it didn't end, but the yearly basis had ended. So I kind of liked. My dad was a Miami fan, whatever. Then I started working with Miami fans. I was like, oh my God, these people are the worst, And like everybody in my family was either Florida or FSU. And it's like Georgia, we kind of shit on Georgia for most of my life, and I didn't really interact with a lot of Georgia fans, so I was okay with Georgia up until I met you. No, really up until the rivalry swung back around. Then it kind of became, and FSU started going down. It's like, fuck Georgia, But yeah, I couldn't pull for FSU. It would be if I had. I'm not even going to make the analogy, but yeah, I couldn't pull for FSU for anything.
I asked my FSU, my oldest friend we met in preschool. He's a diehard Knoll. I said, define the Florida rivalry versus the Miami rivalry right now. Go. And he said, well, it's respect versus lack of respect. It's like Miami, wide right and all that history we have, but we look at Miami. This is Florida State fan saying, like, you're a great and worthy opponent. He looked at me, he took a sip of beer, and he was like, with Florida, it's like, fuck y'all.
Yeah, I mean,
we're like, we don't want you here. You don't want us there. Let's just fight, get this over with, and I don't want to see you again for a year. Is basically what he said.
See, I've heard the opposite. It's usually familial camaraderie with Florida State, whereas with Miami, as we all know, Miami doesn't actually have any fans, much like Vandy. It's just a bunch of drunk people who wandered into Coral Gables, and they were like, well, how the hell did I get here? So that's what I've always seen. My FSU fans really hate Miami. It's this weird triangle to where FSU fans really hate Miami. Florida fans really can take or leave Miami. but Miami hates both of us, and it's like the meme to where it's like from Mad Men, to where it's like, oh, I pity you. I don't even think about you. Yeah, like that's basically how it is, to where it's like, oh, you hate me? I don't.
Maybe there's a spectrum per fan. So
Yeah.
what was the final prediction for your for what you think what Florida's going to do this year? I think I missed that part of the show.
I said 8-4.
I said 6-6.
You said
I think-
6-6.
Yeah, I think 6-6 to 8-4 is about where my expectation.
Now,
is.
Napier gets the pass because of year one.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think that he could possibly do anything to, get fired. I don't think so.
I think he's going to be better than the coach you had before, but I don't think he's going to be this like set Rivers on fire villain that Meyer was and Spurrier. I think he's going to be much more like meat and potatoes. He's going to be like, you're going to play good, solid football, but you're not going to be like the spearhead of the tip of like the fun and gun and the spread. It's not going to be that dynamic anymore.
No, I don't think we're looking for that. I think those days are over. I mean, I don't. I feel like if we wanted somebody like that, we would have hired a different. He's just not that kind of coach. I think that in terms of innovation, at least, it's going to be pretty tough to match Spurrier and Meyer. I think that what we really want is to try, hopefully cut a little piece of that Saban magic and infuse it into our bloodstream. We've tried multiple times. I don't know, man. I'm at the point to where I have at least 18 months, or let's see, what's the March? Yeah, I have about 18 months before I'm really expecting Napier to put a palatable product on the field. I think we're going to wade through a lot of bullshit that Mullen left us, and Napier's got a pretty big shovel.
I think you're right about that. I think
it's going to take at least this next recruiting class to infuse the talent we're going to need. Whether we get it or not remains to be seen, but we're going to be better in that aspect than we were under Mullen, because we can't be too much worse.
In the meantime, go ahead and finish.
Oh, I was just going to say, in terms of what we see on the field, I think that's where everybody's question mark remains. I think that he put out some pretty good offenses at Louisiana, Clemson, Arizona State. They were pretty good. If you can combine pretty good offenses with elite talent, you guys want to tell me what happens?
Don't have any idea.
Couldn't tell you.
We've never had an elite offense.
Quarterback. Still.
The angriest national champions ever.
Rest of the team's all right, though, I guess. In the meantime, while you're waiting to figure that out.
With sea salt.
Are you boys familiar with feudalism?
Oh, yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Because as your new lords and saviors, Mr. Gatorman, you have an assignment. And I'm going to need you to take these upstart volunteers down a peg, because I'm hearing a lot of shit.
Oh, okay. All right. I can handle that.
So, I'm glad to hear you coming here with that, Matt. Because
I was telling my wife, I was telling her, I was like, they call it SEC Field of Streams, but it's a Georgia show. And all these Georgia fans do is talk shit, but for some reason the Tennessee fans take it. That was the weirdest thing to me, is that they just
Field of Streams is the umbrella.
I'm so sorry, sir.
The Georgia show is one ornament hanging underneath the umbrella.
Okay. Yeah, we got to flesh out the tree.
They've started
because we also have the Very Orange live stream.
Oh, true.
Would you like for me
to
pull up their playlist?
No, I don't want you to pull up anything. That's too much orange all in one show. But listen. These peasants have decided that they're going to make a play for the manor, or try to cross the moat. While you are where you are, the gator in the moat, I'm going to need you to eat them, because they're getting way too big for their britches.
That's the thing, though, is that it's hard to really care about them.
I know, I'm trying, but they want me to. They want me to so bad, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for
Brandon,
them.
If you see this, I love you guys. I couldn't give two shits about Tennessee football. And the fact that you guys still do is a testament to your moral character, because I don't have it in me. I couldn't, I'm you guys have at least had flashes in the pan. I mean, Tennessee's last SEC East title was in 07 when they fucking backed into it. I mean, I don't.
Honey,
Those
you
guys
got the
pump it
Band-Aids?
out.
Somebody's bleeding. No? Okay.
You keep going. I'm actually digging around.
I'm just this orange on orange crime's got to be addressed.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to step in. But no, look, they did it to themselves. They catch. And let's be clear.
You got the clip, bitch.
I'm digging. I'm just
What
digging.
did they do at the end of their season that warranted all of this bravado?
I mean, they played better than they did when Florida hung it in their ass. I don't know. I mean, I have nothing from the 2020 season to talk shit about except for beating FSU and beating Tennessee. And one of those things I don't even have the desire to bring up because it's so irrelevant to me. Because beating Tennessee, that's our new Kentucky, I guess. I mean,
God dang, he went there, Mitch. He did it.
Wow! Suddenly my phone is lighting up. I don't know what's going on here, but whoa.
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate, but
Cotty and I have to. If we're not going to bicker with each other, we got to direct it somewhere.
I think we'll hang 20.
What?
Do you need to find the one where Duran said there's no way in hell they lose to Florida by 20? That's in one of our.
I have a whole list of.
Look before the Tennessee Florida game.
I cannot.
Hey, which show should we do next?
Which show should we do next? We've already. I think we've already done Tennessee, sadly. But
do them again, because
do them again.
I'm feeling like real funky.
Let's get the Tennessee fans' expectations and then compare it to.
One of them texted me today that Hendon Hooker will be the best quarterback in the SEC today. Groundhog Day. It's not really Groundhog Day, but you get the quote.
Where the hell? Where? What? All right, now you're gonna make me go find this thing. Have y'all seen our Instagram page? We got an Instagram page run by young Brandon, who is doing
probably
an
gonna shut it
job.
down after he sees this.
It ain't there no more. Let's see if I can find it. Come on, buddy.
Yeah, we did Tennessee because they're getting mighty feisty in Knoxville because they got Hope. And we all know what Hope does. If you've seen the SEC shorts, which all of you have, you know what Hope can do to a program. We've suffered through those days. Now they got it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about being a Florida fan. I mean, at this point, I'm just blowing in the wind. Like, I have no hope. I am in fully wait and see mode at this point. It's just been a decade of, I don't know if I put it in the group chat, but there is a memory I had pop up on Facebook of a picture I took of basketball. It was the top 10 best programs of the previous 10 years. And it was from 2015. Of course, Florida was number one. And so, I sent it to my buddies and I'm like, Muschamp was handed the keys to a Ferrari and Mike White was handed the keys to a Bugatti. And somehow all we managed to get was a dumpster fire. And it's just like, those highs, I know it's going to take at least a year and a half before we get back there, and it's painful. At least, maybe probably even 2.5 years at this point. But we're climbing, man. That's all I can say.
You know where you are?
Yeah.
You're where we were in the 90s, minus the SEC East titles.
Yeah, I don't think we were that bad.
In some years you were. The Muschamp years were pretty gnarly.
But we still only had one losing season.
McElwain freaking won it 2 years, the East 2 years in a row, and still got canned. I think you might be right. You got to be the only school that fired dudes for winning their division.
Well, we at least gave them enough.
I told
work
you
to
about
hang
Mullen. I
themselves.
told you.
You
We're
did,
on this
man.
show. We
You
can
know,
pull up the footage.
Bro, you know how much it pains me more to admit you were right than it does to watch us lose to fucking South Carolina. Like, come on.
It's the only thing I'm good at.
Yeah, but I got to give credit where credit's due.
Nico io maleave, Nico io maleave, Nico io maleave.
The savior.
We need to do a show
playing that
on
again.
NIL.
Nico io maleave, Nico io maleave, Nico io maleave.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah, I can predict some clear pronunciation in Knoxville.
Every time, that's
what's going to happen. His name is Nico. It's going to be like Tua Tagovailoa. Ain't no Bama fans call him Tagovailoa. They call him Tua because that's as much as they can muster.
2 syllables.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. Boys, I want to go to bed soon. So what I'm going to do, Patrick, we did better. Goes, yeah, that's right. Brandon got him. I need to get some cheeseburgers. I think Tennessee's still handing out bags of cheeseburgers, so they'd leave the cheeseburgers out of them.
Which, speaking of which, okay, so LSU just canned Will Wade after him being caught on an FBI wiretap admitting to paying players. What the fuck happened to Tennessee when they clearly were caught paying players?
It's a fair question.
You need to go dig around in Vol Twitter.
Fair question.
Vol Twitter is a whole other world, dude.
So one of the insiders for one of the Florida message boards is apparently he runs he's like a Chick-fil-A franchisee in Central Florida. That's the most information we get from him. So of course the natural transition to that is, dude, go fucking drop some Chick-fil-A bags. Like, we need some recruits. Like, line those bags with some money. Yeah. Fuck it, Chick-fil-A is way better than McDonald's anyway. So I mean, it's already a step up there.
So let me tell you, Matt, you know how we were talking about the Reddit boards with all the like serial killers and all that kind of stuff.
Don't tell people all this stuff, Mitch. This is on the Patreon page that we don't have yet.
Right, you get dropped into one of those pages and you're like, "What the hell is all of this?" Right? When you go to Vol Twitter, that's what is this? Where are you people from?
It's the cartel video version of college football. You're like, I'm haunted. Close my computer.
I'm haunted.
It's a turtle walking across the desert with a Davy Crockett hat on.
Well, hey, if Tennessee really wants to put their big boy pants on, they better get used to this kind of shit, because if they're going to be the new upstarts, then you're gonna get ganged up on.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is
I need the piece of paper that says Kentucky.
That's one observation I've had from social media. It's Georgia fans, y'all just do not know how to troll. Like, it's just been such a weird spectacle because y'all have there's literally no reason to engage anybody in an argument for the next 365 days, because you can just say, do natty. You can say scoreboard.
Listen, dude, I see
people commenting and they're just like the worst shit talkers I've ever seen in my life, and it's like,
they're not used to it. They're not used to it. Here's the thing with that. You're right. I don't like it, and even I wasn't used to it for like the first 2 weeks because I was still trying to like, and then I realized I had what alcoholics refer to as a moment of clarity. I was like, I don't have to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Kneel before your God. Get out of my face. I'll let you talk shit to Tennessee. I'll let Tennessee talk shit to Kentucky. I'll let Notre Dame fight USC. All of you little people, do your thing. Get out of my face.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean,
it's almost like a pressure valve was like released, and we're like, okay.
I just got an idea for a video. It's Gozer the Gozerian. Are you a god? and then when it cuts to the Ghostbusters, it's gonna be their faces are replaced by like logos for other SEC teams, and then it cuts back to her and it's just a G, and then coming soon to a field of streams near you.
I'd watch it.
What have I started?
The only, and I've stopped, but the last holdouts for like me were some of these frickin' Bama fans who just won't let it go.
Oh boy,
They won't let it go. I let them go.
Yeah.
I let them go finally. But
I
See,
like
I
the
think-
one that Patrick posted in the Discord the other day, where it was just the Morton Salt logo, and it just said, "Die mad, you salty bitch." Well, yes, that's where I'm at with Bama folks right now. Just go and die mad about it. You know?
yeah,
I feel like Bama has an interesting cross section to where their their most successful 15-year run ever has been right now, and then you have that old school people who are like, oh, Bear Bryant did all this shit. It's like, dude, Nick Saban's won 6 titles for you. Who cares about Bear Bryant right now? Yeah. So you have these people who grew up on social media with Bama being the dominant program, so they're pretty good at shit talking. And then you go in, once you pass about 40, those Bama fans are just like, they act like because Bama won titles in the 70s is why they're relevant. It's like, dude, no, it's Nick Saban. And then you have really good shit talkers, and it's just a really weird cross section.
like in the good shit that we're not trying to. We know that 15-year period will never. That's not just in their history. That's in the history of all.
Yeah.
We're not trying to take anything away from you. Now we're all just trying to beat you just one time.
Yeah.
Right. We beat you one time. If you could beat Alabama next year, Florida man, if you could beat them for a national title next year, you'd be on cloud 9.
Oh, for sure.
And they always come back with, well, we won 6 in a row. We're going to be there next year. I don't give a shit. Today, I'm a champion.
Yeah.
And you're not. God dang.
Feels good, doesn't it?
It does feel good to win that way against that team. It would have felt
Oh,
good.
yeah, I agree.
If it had been Cincinnati, if it had been anybody else, Oklahoma, it would have felt good to end the drought.
Because then
beat-
people,
to
if
beat
it had
that
been
team,
Cincinnati, it would have.
That's how
that
I feel
way.
about. That's how I feel about FSU's 2013 title. They beat Auburn, and that was during the "We Want Bama" phase, right? To where Bama was just the head and shoulders above everybody else. And then Auburn flukes and beats Georgia, then beats Bama, then beats Missouri in the SEC title game, and then chokes against FSU. That title to me is so fraudulent because they, if you rewind 20 years, you got the USC dynasty, then you get the Florida dynasty, quote unquote, 2 and 3 years. It's not really a dynasty, but then Bama takes over. Then you get the Clemson intersection, and if you go back and look, only one team won an individual title in that time frame. Or I guess Ohio State falls into that as well, but they were in the playoffs, so they're a little bit they get a little bit of a pass. And they had to go through Bama to do it. But that FSU title, man, beating Auburn in the title, it's like you didn't go through the big dog though. Like Bama came in and took our lunch in the SEC title game. They did it to y'all a couple years ago with Tua. Y'all took it from them finally. And the fact that FSU didn't, and they get to still claim the last and the first BCS title, man, it pisses me off way more than.
I'm sensing some stings, a little bit of here.
Considering how far they've fallen since that moment, it's just like you're talking about beating Bama in the title and dealing with the Gumps, right? When Florida was winning our titles, Bobby was at the end of his run, and so instead of our rivals being up, Georgia was up, but they weren't where they are now. FSU, Miami, Tennessee, those teams were good. LSU won the 07 title. But for me, FSU is what it's all about because that's who I deal with daily. Nowadays, it's more diverse, but in 06 and 08, I was surrounded by FSU fans. And they didn't give a shit because they hadn't been relevant in 5 years at that point. So it's not really fun. It's not fun to. Would you go to a Georgia Tech fan and start talking shit?
No.
And if you did, what would happen?
Nothing.
Exactly.
I wouldn't even talk to him like.
They'd be like, "Who's our coach?" I don't know.
I think we were bantering once, and it's Georgia went, and you were like, "Well, they have more natties." Yeah, when they wore leather helmets, there are now Georgia Tech fans who are of legal drinking age who have never seen the Jackets win in Atlanta ever.
That's rough.
I mean, there's
We run the state. to your point, when it gets
Yeah.
that lopsided or when someone's that bad, it's not fun. It's like, just stop.
Yeah.
Can you just like get off the schedule so we can bring in a Clemson or
You know, we're FSU's not there yet. Like this past year, I had people, FSU fans, acting like losing to Florida with an interim head coach after a terribly disappointing season for the winner to get bowl eligible. They're like, "Oh, we almost beat y'all." Bro, what? This season was so bad we fired our coach, and y'all are glad about almost beating us? Like, how far have y'all fallen? It's
far. Hey,
Jimbo
you ain't
Fisher,
gonna find no love for the criminals amongst us.
Hey,
pile on them. Mitch, you like a criminal?
No, I could go on about
I
this.
ain't got near and a bit of use for no criminal.
But I like Patrick.
You,
I need to be.
This quick 30-minute show.
I was like, man, we're gonna knock this thing out. It's gonna be.
Well,
gonna be good.
When it shows up, you got to stick around.
Hey, man, if it was anybody else, I would have left. The 35
I will be
minutes
cremated in this.
I believe that's true.
Thing of beauty there.
Doesn't
the name usually go in the back though?
What name?
I thought the post office was blue and white.
KTG Caleb has a USPS hat, and I was like, bro, listen, I don't know how much you paid for that hat, but I'll buy you a dozen of them if you will mail that one to Mr. Ducati.
It's the ultimate quandary, but I know we got to go. Are we doing the courtesy thing where he picks the next team?
Yeah. So who do we get to talk to next?
Who we got left?
So everybody who is in our regular chat, their teams have all been. You were the last of that line. Everybody else's team has been addressed. So that leaves.
Have we done us?
Yeah, we did us first. That leaves LSU. That leaves
he don't want to talk
Mississippi
about LSU.
State and Ole Miss from the West, and it leaves Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina, and Vandy from the East.
Y'all got to do something about LSU because LSU is getting out of hand when it comes to Florida. It's like, are they here now? Is that what's happening?
Yes. They're much like Mullen. They're a thing of the past, and this is a new page that we're turning. Okay. LSU has always been a thorn in our side, and they will always be. And I will always be pissed about the fact that we got stuck with the sleeping giant that was LSU as our permanent cross.
Well, they are. There ain't no doubt about that. What did you say, Mitch? If there's one team that you don't want to ever believe in themselves, it's LSU.
Yeah, and LSU hitting on cylinders is every bit as scary as Florida, Georgia, Bama, anybody else.
Name them.
Robert says, "Cut the rope to the anchor."
Okay, yeah. So do you know Eric Douglas, Mitch?
I know Eric. Yeah, I know Eric.
You think he would join us for a South Carolina?
I've talked to Eric in the past about that, and he said that he would be honored to. I could probably convince him to come on and talk some Cox with us.
Yeah, let's do that one then. I think
that'd
be an interesting one.
I'll see if maybe we can get Eric and Bryn on the show. That'd be stellar.
Yeah, sir. All right, guys. Well, y'all have a good one. It was good talking to you, Matt.
You too, sir. We will see each other down the road.
Buddy.
When the season kicks in, I will be more active.
Yes, sir.
Right.
See ya.
Let's do this thing before we get out of here. Anything for these people before we end it, Matt?
I didn't realize I had worn this.
All right, everybody. Good night.